welcome to another edition of the Quick Picks show on bookmakers.com TV. I'm Dean Ryan. I'm joined by the regulars, Mark Fordham and Darren Hughes, and we have a debutant in the shape of Owen Gately. Good to have you, Owen. We're going to have 4 picks on the panel, of course, including myself with the host banker. We're going to cover the World Cup. We're covering horse racing in the UK, and of course, another week of NFL action. Now, we're going to kick off with Darren. We're going to start with UK horse racing this week. Don't forget, the NFL will also be covered by RotoWire during the show. Those boys are on fire with their gridiron tips. So, Darren, you take us away. UK horse racing this weekend.
Yeah, sure thing, Dean. We're heading to Haydock. At 25 past 2, you have the Betfair Exchange Stayers Handicap Hurdle. The Roll of Honour in this is actually pretty impressive in the last couple of years. You have Main Fact won it in 2020, Sam Spinner 2017, and then, of course, probably the best of them all, Paisley Park won it off top weight in 2018 before going on to take his first Stayers Hurdle. And I think there might be another horse of that mould in this race in the shape of Might I for Harry Fry. I think this horse been running over the round trip all last year. He didn't manage to win a race, but obviously had some pretty good form. He was second behind Constitution Hill, third behind John Bon, and second behind Three Stripe Life. So I think all in all, he was maybe a little bit unfortunate. His last run was over 2.5 miles, arguably his best run of the year, and I think the extra half mile here is going to be right up his alley as well. It looks like it's going to be pretty soft ground to Haydock this weekend, which I actually think suits him unusually, despite the fact he's a fame and glory gelding, which they usually prefer better ground. But for some reason, this guy seems to go particularly well with a good bit of dig in the ground. He is 7-2 favourite. I think he could go off an awful lot shorter. I think he could be 2-1, 9-4 by the time this race goes off. And I'd expect him to win this and go on to much bigger and better things. He is actually 40-1 for the Stayers Hurdle. I think he could do an awful lot worse than that. But let's try and get this weekend out of the way first. So Might I at 7-2 or plus 350 to win the Betfair Exchange Stayers Hurdle at Haydock this weekend.
Yep. Okay. That's my tie on Saturday, 225. Hoping that he enjoys a bit of rain in the ground and also that step up in trip for Harry Fry. Okay. That was UK horse racing. It's time to turn our attentions to the NFL. Owen, it's your debut. Good luck. Find us something to bet on in the NFL this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully now first show brings me a bit of luck on this pick. So I'm back in the Cowboys to win over 55 points on Sunday's game against the Vikings at 9:25 p.m. Irish time. Seeing price between 9-2 and 4-1 on this one. My rationale behind it really is the Vikings have over 23 points in 8 of their 10 games this season. One game they scored 20. The game they played against the Browns, they were limited to 7 points, but we won't talk about that one. The Cowboys have over 23 points in 6 of their 10 games this year. We also have to factor in that Cooper Rush had that 4-game streak. Dak didn't really get going at the start of the season, then missed some time through to injury, but they're back, they're high-powered. We've seen the number of points they put up over the last number of weeks. But it's not just the offensive points that could be put up. These are 2 really high-powered defenses. If you're looking at the Cowboys, they've 15 turnovers this year, but they've actually forced 13 fumbles. And the Vikings have 18 turnovers, and that's fairly well balanced between 10 interceptions and 8 fumbles. Looking at Kirk Cousins and Dak, Kirk has 4 fumbles on the season. Dak has a history of fumbling, but he's actually yet to fumble so far this year. So I'd be expecting to see a scooper score, possibly a pick 6 at some stage, considering Trayvon Diggs really has not gotten up to what he usually does to the same extent this year. You're looking at the pressure that exists there in the NFC East at the minute with the Cowboys in 3rd place, despite having the 4th best record in the entire NFC. And I think this just sets the stage for a 31-28 Cowboys win. Overtime might be needed in this one.
Okay, score prediction as well. Hoping for plenty of points in the Cowboys' victory against the Vikings on Sunday at 9:25 UK time. I think best price out there, 92 or plus 450. Let's stick with the NFL. We'll head over to Jim and Alan at RotoWire and get their best picks of this week's NFL action.
I'm taking the over 50-point total in the Chicago Bears versus Atlanta Falcons game. Now, the main storyline in this game is a lack of defense. Per Pro Football Focus, these teams have the 2 worst pressure rates in the league. They're also in the bottom 10 against the pass. And the Bears have one of the worst run defenses in the league. The only group that's competent is the Falcons' run defense, which is in the middle of the pack. But the Bears have the third best run blocking offensive line. Both teams should have great success on the ground and not just a lot of 5-yard runs. We maybe see 20 and 30-yard runs. We'll see explosive plays regularly. And the occasional play action passes should turn into long gains and possible touchdowns. I see the final score being Chicago 30, Atlanta 27.
Okay, welcome back to the Quick Pick Show on bookmakers.com TV. We've had a little bit of NFL action covered. We've had some UK horse racing covered, but of course, the World Cup starts this weekend. Everyone looking forward to it, of course, in Qatar. We won't go too much into the whys and wherefores of why it is, where it is, and why it is at this time of the year and all of that stuff. Let's kick off with the opener, Qatar against Ecuador. Mark Fordham.
Thanks, Dean. With the World Cup starting on Sunday, 4 p.m. UK time and 9 p.m. Eastern, it only seemed right to at least have a crack at it. These can be pretty difficult to call. To quote a few stats from our good friend Charlie Mullen, in the 8 opening matches of the tournament between 1966 and 1994, there was a total of 5 goals scored.
Oh my word!
Since then, there have been 21 goals scored in the past 6 games, but I think the conditions might be right for a return to the less entertaining days. As hosts, Qatar haven't had to take part in qualifying for the tournament and have had a lack of competitive game time. They haven't played a competitive fixture since December last year, and they're also in their first ever World Cup in front of their own fans, who can foresee perhaps a little bit of stage fright among the players in the opening game of such a global tournament. Ecuador qualified ahead of some pretty good teams, such as Colombia and Chile, to earn their place in Qatar. Their most recent fixtures, however, goals have been at a premium. They've actually failed to score in 5 of the last 6 games. The under 2.5 goals has hit 12 times in their last 13 fixtures. And while there have been quite a few draws in that time, they've won 4 of those games that were under 2.5 goals and lost none of them. As I said, the opening games are sometimes a bit of a nightmare to choose, but I think there's enough evidence in favour of an Ecuador win and under 2.5 total goals at 16 to 5 or plus 320, depending on where you are wagering from, to have a go at it.
Okay, Ecuador to win and under 2.5 goals in that World Cup opener, Qatar against Ecuador. Okay, I'm going to stick with the World Cup for the host banker. Now, we are on a roll, of course, after England dominated Pakistan in that T20 World Cup final and delivered a famous victory for I was going to say the home nation, but that's where I'm from. It was, of course, in Australia. And knocking them out on run rate would have cheered everyone up there. I noticed the ground was pretty empty when they were picking up the trophy, but that's how you get it done. I'm going to stick with England. England take on Iran in their opening game in the World Cup on Monday, and I think Gareth Southgate is going to be cautious. Not surprised. That is his nature. I think he'll flood the defence. I think he'll also flood the midfield with ball winners, and he'll be looking to kind of block any kind of threat. There shouldn't be too much, but I think he won't be too concerned about what the score ends up being here. The actual main goal will be 3 points and a clean sheet and move on. Let the other teams worry about England when they face up against Wales and the USA. So I do think this is a pretty safe bet. England to win to nil a 17-20 or minus 118. And to me, that looks very good value for a team that will want to keep the doors closed and nick 1 or 2 on the break. And I think they'll be able to do that pretty comfortably. It should be an easy start for England in the World Cup, but we've said that many, many times before. All the bets from this week's Quick Pick Show on bookmakers.com TV are on your screens now. If you are getting involved, very best of luck. My thanks go to debutantes Owen Gately, Mark Fordham, Darren Hughes, and the 2 chaps over at RotoWire. Best of luck this week, and we'll do it all again next week on the Quick Pick Show.